Hi, everyone. We are about a month after TDX, one of the largest conferences for Salesforce, and specifically focus on Salesforce admins, developers, and just all things tech. Today, I want to just have an honest conversation about what I observed, and more importantly, what does that mean for you as somebody rather transitioning into Salesforce careers, in the Salesforce ecosystem, or looking into the future. Hi, my name is Kim Barnes. I am a Salesforce career strategist of Lipstick and Tech. I hope that the content in this video, if you find it helpful, that you'll consider subscribing. And if not, stay tuned for more. Before diving in, I just want to acknowledge the fact that we're in a very unique position of time where there are many talented professionals that are between roles or just concerned about jobs insecurity at this time. The reality is that we still even have to consider the fact that technology is changing around us. And the best thing that I can do as a career strategist is give you the information that you need to make an equipped and thoughtful decision about where you want to go in the Salesforce ecosystem. The central theme ultimately for TDX was AI. Probably heard about it already through Agentforce. During Patrick Stokes' keynote, he discussed how agents would help address the workforce. And the quote that I have here is that they know that by 2030, there could be 85 million unfilled jobs globally due to demographic shifts. Now, personally, I think this framing oversimplifies complex economic realities. And I came out of the keynote feeling a little disconnected from any of the immediate challenges that we're facing right now rather than in 2030. But it still doesn't change the fact that companies are presented with new technology. That's why I'm so invested in actually learning the technology myself, even though I don't use it on a day-to-day basis. Now, if anything came from the keynote in particular, it's that the human expertise that you currently have, that you are upskilling in, is not going to be replaced. The implementation of all these agents, Agentforce, still requires human judgment. So what do you know about the valuable use cases that will be implemented in order to actually leverage new agents? That is something that only you can ultimately decide and ultimately you can consider as far as bringing value to your organization. It's just something that you have to be equipped and prepared if you want to be competitive in the career and job market. This, I feel, and not to set off alarm bells, but I personally feel like there is a window of opportunity right now to adapt. I recognize that it's already difficult with the constant changes in your job. Nothing new as technologists where we have to just continue upskilling all the time. But I think we're in a really unique position to find opportunities to learn. And hopefully you'll be set up in the best way so that you can actually deliver on potential work for your organization. One of the other themes that we found out during TDX was the idea of democratizing AI. As somebody who's trying to make Salesforce more accessible for everyone, really love and support this idea. There's a way for you to really access these different agents and this technology through low code, let's almost call it medium code, and then regular coding methods. And so through that, the way that they're actually going to achieve that goal is actually through a number of ways. One, if you haven't learned already, everyone will get access to a developer edition of Agentforce and Data Cloud that you can access for free, just like any other regular developer org that you would have. I think this is a big deal. And it was probably the one thing from the keynote that I absolutely loved and I thought was really interesting in this instance, especially as we're talking about people upskilling and people having to learn more about the technology. The second thing to keep in mind for what I would consider as another way for them to achieve this goal of getting more folks access to the tool and actually learning about agents is through a new badge-esque system And there are different badges that you can get in order to achieve a different Agentforce status. The last status that they have in there is actually gatekept a little bit. So you can achieve the first two Agentforce statuses without the certification. But in order for you to actually achieve the third one, you have to have passed the Agentforce Specialist. I do want to make it clear that while free learning resources are always helpful, as we all know, it doesn't obviously address the broader economic challenges that many may face. Essentially, learning new skills are always valuable, but just keep in mind that it's obviously not a complete solution to structural employment issues. In my personal opinion, you can only do as much as you can. So don't push yourself too hard. Trailhead and the communities involved are always looking for ways to get folks engaged and learning more about the technology. And so I'm hoping in the future that means more access to challenges where you can get opportunities to get free certs. One of the particular reasons why I love going to TDX is that you'll actually get access to a certification code. I do happen to work for an organization that's a partner, but because I've attended the conference, I was able to get a code for an additional certification, which I intend on using for the Agentforce Specialist exam. As always, if these are the sorts of skills that you want to achieve, I would implore you to really go through all of the learning free resources that you can before you start considering having to pay for any learning tools and so on. And as always, lipstickandtech.com has links to both free and paid resources that I believe are the best way to learn and then hopefully get you what you need in order to get your first and hopefully future roles in the Salesforce ecosystem. I go to TDX more often than not to network and try to kind of extend my community as I currently know it now. Of course, I have the advantage that I am in beautiful California and San Francisco Bay Area. However, it still doesn't change the fact there are folks that are always coming from everywhere. TDX is a lot smaller, but I tend to talk more about TDX because I believe that's where you can go to also really take advantage of more workshops that I think are valuable for a lot of folks. And of course, if you're a developer, it is like the best place to go for that sort of learning. Now, I will add though, that TDX did not have a career fair this year. If you're someone who's particularly interested in career fairs as an opportunity to get additional community support and or looking for employment, I would generally recommend Dreamforce. Now, this still doesn't change the fact that if you are career hunting, you don't have to go to a conference to do that. There are always Trailhead community groups that you can attend. I've attended a few myself and they're absolutely lovely and they're great opportunities to meet other local Salesforce folks. As always, what strikes me the most about Salesforce conferences, and especially those like TDX, are the conversations that are happening at the conference center. I always find it as a great opportunity to see my peers, meet some new peers, and extend my network. Before I move on, of course, I want to make sure that I made a note of some of the other larger announcements that were made at TDX, particularly the technical ones. Feel free to pause and screenshot, and I'll be sure to include more information and, as always, additional resources in the description down below. I want to just take some time to highlight what I see as 3 career resilient strategies that emerged from my conversations that I had at TDX. First, this is a great time to identify what your human expertise is. Whether you're in the Salesforce industry or not, you have certain intuitions and judgments, and more importantly, empathy that you can apply to certain contexts for clients. As a perfect example, I continue to work on projects where it's never just I am taking some requirements and getting it to delivery. There's a lot of things that happen in between ultimately, right? What are the clients like? What industries are they working in? What kind of history and background do they have? And how can I support their ambitions and goals to get them to an end product or an end vision? You're taking the time to consider giving the clients, again, your full attention, and more importantly, trying to make really key decisions and walk them through those key decisions. Now, I am not a solution architect, but even as an analyst and consultant, I also have to consider and provide clients with the insights about which platform architectures are best for how to even set up their pages for their accounts and contexts and so on. As good as AI can be, it's more important than ever that you come in really knowledgeable and really empathetic and can provide that sort of guidance for your customers. I believe very thoroughly that yes, technology will be there, but you need to come in with a human first approach as well as your technology expertise for the future. And I believe that with interviewing, it's going to be more important than ever to come in with that approach. And yes, it might involve some storytelling elements to really deliver that message that will resonate with recruiters, companies, customers, and so on. What I believe to be a second career resilient strategy is to really approach this next stage as being a bridge between AI and human. We just talked about the fact that you have to come in with expertise, but organizations are more than ever seeking professionals who not only understand the technology, but can address business needs and human needs. You should be taking the time to really refine and practice how you can translate those business needs, the things that stakeholders need, and actually put them in the technologies that you intend on implementing that serves those goals and objectives, not the other way around, right? As technologists, we often go through that actual practice of thinking about tech first, but it's important, again, as always, to take a step back and think, well, is this going to help them meet their scalability approach? Is it going to actually fit in really well with their ERP systems? Like these are the things that I believe will always set you up for success, no matter what kind of changes we'll see in the future for not only technology, not only AI, but of course, Agentforce and whatever future developments that Salesforce and frankly, even any other CRM ecosystem might offer. Third, be willing to embrace new technologies. This would probably be the time to consider and start embracing new tech, or take an opportunity to pivot and consider what marries, so to speak, really well with the current expertise that you have. As a perfect example, let's say that you were someone who really into AI, but you weren't in the Salesforce ecosystem. If you were someone considering business work, and you know that you're not going to be really coding much AI, Agentforce would actually be a great consideration. Now, I can say for myself as a consultant slash business analyst in my 9 to 5, I'm finding myself embracing Agentforce a bit more. It's more important ever for me to at least be aware of the technology. And I myself happen to have an Agentforce champion badge simply because I want to be aware of all the different products that Salesforce has, so that if a client or a customer comes to us in mind with an interesting business need where we think that there is an actual applicable case for them, I just want to make sure I have been able to provide them with the guidance and judgment. And being able to provide that guidance and judgment means embracing the new tech, letting them know about there's this interesting technology that they should consider if they're thinking about getting ahead. Now, we've talked about all of this great tech, all these strategies for how to consider moving forward in your career, but I want to actually take a little bit of time to provide some personal insights about how specific roles are evolving. Administrators are going to be picking up the slack in more strategic work, while tools like the agent for setup will assist you with configuration tasks. There's going to be a new opportunity for admins who are really engaged to start becoming the business process expert. How are they going to ultimately administer their Salesforce environment, provide those user experience design expertise, and it'll look a lot like the work that business analysts are doing now, but ultimately with some of the heavy lifting that some of the new tech that's beginning with AI and new developments from Salesforce, I think the best admins are the ones who are going to be more proactive and more strategic about how they're building their systems so that it'll actually work better for all users. And more importantly, actually have more of a hand in the larger design decisions. Based on everything that I learned at TDX as it pertains to developers, there's just a continued trend of folks needing to actually increase and improve their integration expertise. So everything from Agentforce API, Open API, Lightning Out 2.0, Heroku, AppLink, and other similar integrations that will connect systems. These sorts of capabilities requires developers to really improve their problem-solving skills for more complex integration and system architectures. And these different platforms integrations will require more creative thinking. The role of an architect is to really continue to expand and incorporate new capabilities more holistically. I don't think that will really change that much given a lot of the announcements that were made for TDX. That means that with the new capabilities coming up and the updated toolkits, there will be opportunities to take a step back and you have to assess what Salesforce customers are really looking for, what they're doing right now, and take a more agent first approach and scalability design thinking approach to any future solutions coming up. Finally, given all the new capabilities that were just announced, organizations will need help establishing governance frameworks more than ever. That means everything from AI adoption, making sure it's aligned with the values of these different organizations, ethical guidelines in particular to AI. And this is something that a consultant would have to keep an eye out for, not to say that it doesn't apply to other roles within an organization, but I think consultants in particular will have to really make sure that they're prioritizing when it comes to building these solutions. If you haven't already, please sign up for the free Agentforce Developer Edition. Even spending just 30 minutes a week experimenting, building some familiarity that will hopefully eventually translate into the confidence that you'll get going into interviews and actually talking through some of those use cases that you've developed, as well as complementary with the workplace discussions, will make you uniquely equipped for those interviews and technology conversations that you're having. Combined with trailhead badges are always complementary and helpful for broadening your knowledge on not only Salesforce, but Agentforce in particular. As you're transitioning, take stock of what your transferable skills are. Many of the capabilities you might already have, things like stakeholder communication, project management, and process knowledge are always really valuable, especially in the age of AI. And fortunately, leveraging AI will only make these skills shine because you're able to move really fast and you're able to really distinguish what, frankly, good and bad ideas are when it comes to developing value and creating projects and products for your clients, customers, and as you're building a potential portfolio. Finally, as I just mentioned, consider creating a small portfolio project that not only demonstrates your existing expertise, but show that you're willing to go above and beyond learning these new technologies that will really showcase your ability to learn on the fly, and you can actually talk through it with a recruiter or obviously your hiring manager in the interview. You could alternatively create a portfolio or a professional website talking about these projects, but I personally believe the professional portfolio project would provide more value. Even if you don't get a chance to show them through a screen share, you'll be able to talk through, will bring a lot of value and show your level of expertise, even if you haven't worked your first Salesforce job yet. Remember that tech is always evolving and there are always opportunities to shift towards working together, helping build unique skills and better your skills for hopefully the longevity of your career. I encourage you to share your experiences in the comments. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video.